My next guest is Jimmy Day II. He has been a band director for 15 years and has taught in a school district in Colorado for 7 of those 15 years. In the 15 years as a music educator, Day has rebuilt 3 band programs under his baton in urban areas. He transformed them into award-winning programs, earning superior scorings from district music festivals. As a result of his effective teaching, Day was chosen to participate in the Public Education and Business Coalition for the mentoring company of the school district he works in for practice as a mentor. He was also asked to serve on the Music Advisory Committee as well. Day is passionate about meeting students where they are and teaching them life skills and music skills to help them grow as a person and musician. This approach allows him to set high but attainable expectations that students can feel proud about accomplishing. In October 2022, Day had the honor of being named the 2023 Colorado Teacher of the Year. He is the first band director, which is electives or exploratory teacher, and the first Black male recipient to receive this award in the state of Colorado. In addition, Day received the Educator Champion Award from the Colorado Black Caucus of School Board Directors in February 2023 and was recognized at the Drums Along the Rockies band event in July of 2023. Day hopes to encourage more Black men and women to be in the education profession. He also hopes to shed light on music education, the importance of music educators, and how it was impactful to him as a Black student and how it can be impactful to students of color. Welcome to the podcast, Jimmy.
Thank you, Dana. How you doing?
Good. So just kind of a little precursor for folks who are listening. Jimmy and I have worked at the same school. So I invited him at the end of the school year to be a guest on the podcast, and he is transitioning from a middle school to a K-8 school, and we'll talk about that during the podcast. But we'll start off with the story that I ask everybody. Tell me about a time when you were in the trenches and managed to crawl out.
All right. So first, let me say thank you for the opportunity to be here to share my story with you. I really do appreciate that. So the trenches, my trenches, being a first year teacher in a school, and what I late school year, and so you can just imagine how difficult that was to get settled in, because I was coming after a band director who was there for a year prior to me being there, and the students they just fell in love with.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no fault of their own, connect with a child, they're gonna love you for life. And so having to come behind that and having to be able to set up my structures and set up the way Mr. Day do stuff and try to find out ways how to get these students to follow me and trying to figure out how to be their leader and try to figure out to still keep some familiarity from their past band director while trying to slip my own stuff in there without them rebelling against me. I had to do that. I had to, I had to just figure out how to teach them, how to get them motivated and excited about what they did, and like that was the trenches for me. And it was difficult. It was difficult because even though I'm trying to figure this out, I was still having a lot of rebellion because, I was looked at as the guy who replaced their favorite teacher. And it was, and it wasn't nothing like that. It was all dealing with paperwork stuff. Whatever happened with him, they couldn't bring him back. So I was hired. And, on top of that, him, even though he wasn't the band director, he was hired in as a sub temporarily. And that caused some conflicts between me and him and the students, because no matter what I did, the students would run back to him when they see him at the end of the day, and he will always kind of hang around. So that brought some conflict. And, it got to a point where it was like, oh, Mr. Day, so you telling the kids that you're the band director? I'm like, I am the band director. That's what I was hired for. And so it was one to go talk to the principal right now and get this figured out. the band director? Am I the co-band director? Am I the assistant band director? I need to know exactly what I'm doing. So when I brought this to the principals and assistant principal, they both were like, no, you're the band director. This is your program. This is what you need to do. So the principal eventually was like, well, you know what? Having him here can be a conflict. So let me, put a word in, and he had him he had to move to the high school. It was a few blocks from us to sub over there because he understood that was bringing conflict between the students because they needed to be around me without him being there, messing up whatever I'm trying to get with them. And so that was a hard thing to go through. That was hard. And even after they left, I still had students running to my door yelling out, "We want Mr." I'm not gonna say his name, but it's like, "We want Mr. Such and such," just yelling at my door. I mean, like, it was some disrespectful stuff. And and it's just, I was like, I mean, kids would rebel on you. I mean, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy because that was like I around here, I was happy. Who is this guy? So I had that really take the fire on me and really let him do whatever. Make sure by May of the year, we're talking about Mr. Owners Day. And that was my freaking, just happened that why was in education time and some brain trying to figure out how to get through this madness, trying to get through that, and I had other band directors that I clinged on to and picked their brain. It was one band director that I made him my mentor because I was like, I need to do what you're doing because whatever you're doing over there with your middle school kids, you are getting a lot of success. What are you doing? And talking to him made me realize, okay, I'm having very, very low expectations for my students. Okay, so now I need to have some higher expectations. So just, I mean, all of that stuff. It just really here trying to just really pick the brains of the professionals that's in what I'm doing, as well as my wife, and putting all that together and trying to, try this and throw that out and keep that and reinforce this. And eventually it started to come together and I was able to put my own spin onto it. And then maybe year 4, it was like, oh, I think I got it. So but that was my trenches. My first year as a teacher, that first half of the school year, I should say, was my trenches, just trying to get my feet under me and trying to build relationships with these students and trying to find out how to build relationships with these students. And it was a task. It was a task. And, and I think maybe that's why I'm such a big thing when it comes to classroom management, because it's tough. It's tough. So yeah, that's my trenches.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of people on the podcast talk about their first year as a teacher, and I've never heard this conflict, like you're saying, like the teacher you replaced actually being there as a sub. That's easy, and having to compete for kids' attention. So.
Yeah, very unnecessary when you think about it, right?
Yeah, definitely. So, you've told me in communication prior to the recording that you were recently inducted into the Sigma Alpha Iota International Music Fraternity as a Friend of the Arts by the Denver Alumni Chapter. So tell me a little bit about this fraternity. Where did you attend the university? So Iola. So tell me a little bit about kind of what this accomplishment means to you.
Oh, so well, Sigma Alpha Iota fraternity was founded in 1903, and it was this, music fraternity, and I have known about this fraternity since I was in college because, fun fact, my wife was initiated when she was in college.
Okay.
And so to be inducted in Sigma Alpha Iota was a really big accomplishment because they do a lot of things. The Denver Alumni Chapter, they're always donating to different music programs, and they donated to my music program when I was at East. And I have gotten to know them. I'm around them a lot because my wife became a part of the Denver Alumni Chapter when we moved here, and they are really, really good people to get to know, and they are really, really serious about their music. And I mean, who don't want to be around people that love what they love, right? But it's a huge honor, and they, you know, decided that they were going to recognize me, you know, for my accomplishments in music and music education. So I was very, very appreciative that they considered me to be a distinguished member of their organization.
Yeah, and also the fact that they are donating to these programs, especially in lower income areas, really makes a difference for our students, and having the instruments or replacing instruments as well, where those need to be replaced. So you've talked already a little bit about your wife. So you told me prior to recording that your wife and you met in band in high school, and you play the same instrument. And then you have your oldest son who played trombone, and he's now a college graduate. So he played trombone in high school, and your youngest son played euphonium. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And he plays that at the Denver School of the Arts. So how has music been important in your family, and the influence your wife and you have brought upon your sons as they go through their high school and college careers?
Well, so yeah, like you said, all this music stuff happened when me and my wife met back in. Um, um, I will say, starting with my youngest, I'm gonna talk about Jamari for a minute. Jamari's on the spectrum, right? And you know, so he's already going to have some challenges when it comes to, you know, learning and, you know, stuff like that. When we moved here from Nashville, he was maybe like a couple grades behind on his reading. And with my wife and I tag teaming, because around that time we decided to kind of like do like this hybrid thing with school and homeschooling. And with my wife tag teaming on the literacy end and me tag teaming on the music end, him being able to learn how to read music and process it and make sense of it, like that really like knocked his what's called it Lexile scores, really sent them up. And so right now he's reading on grade level, probably above grade level now. And I would like to say that music has something to do with that, on top of other things. But I really would, you know, would like to think that music really has something to do with that, because I mean, music is literacy. Yeah, they're not reading words like somebody would do in their ELA class, but they're looking at these symbols. It's like reading another language and making sense of it and translating what it means. You know what I'm saying? So it's really one of those things that really work the brain. So being in music has really helped him a lot. It's really helped him a lot. He is coming out with his personality. He is this as he like to say, what does he say? He's a fan favorite at school. But he is really, really, really doing a good job in his music. And, you know, he's about to go to his senior year. So I'm like, okay, you're going to have to take it on home now, you know. But he's really into acting as well. So hopefully, you know, the disciplines that he's learned from his music, hopefully he can translate some of that over to him pursuing, you know, being going into acting, because that's what he wants to do when he graduates. We also, me and him, we do two for December. Denver Brass Fest performance that's downtown. We play outside in the cold. And then we do Tuba Christmas that's maybe like a couple weeks later. So we are trying to turn that into a holiday tradition that me and him share. We're trying to get Big Brother and Mama to join in with us, but you know, working on them. But yeah, we do that. We try to make that a tradition. We started in 2019, but then COVID hit, so we took a couple years off. So we kicked back up in 2022. So, you know, we look forward to doing that every year. So that's fun. My oldest played trombone. He marched I was his teacher. His 8th grade year, but he used to perform with my band in 7th grade too before he got transferred. And just they both played in my bands. Jamari was in my band when I was at East, and Jimmy was in my band when I worked at Memphis. So they both got a little piece of their daddy on the podium. And so I think they both benefited from it. But Jimmy, yeah, he played the trombone all the way up through his 10th grade year. And so unfortunately, he had to stop playing because when we moved to Denver, they didn't have any schools where he went. They didn't have they did have a vocal music program, and he was in their vocal music program and did a pretty good job because he was just able to kind of, connect the music over to vocal music, And so he did a really good job in that. And me and him got a chance to perform with each other. What was him going into his senior year? We Tennessee State University, that's the college that I graduated from, as well as my wife. We were both in the band there. And so before I moved here, I used to be a camp counselor in their G band camp. G stands for that, what Braves, that was the one. Jimmy was fortunate enough to be in that camp, and I got to be his camp counselor and stuff. And so what happens is at the end of the camp, the band, the campers do a performance for their parents. And so it's a point where at the end of their show, the alumni will go out there and we'll play a couple of songs with the campers as well. So my son was out there, so I got to stand next to him. And we got to, play some of the stuff that me and his mama learned in the band. And, it was a real kind of full circle type of moment. So that was a special moment. My wife, she don't play anymore. She still sings every now and again. Like I said, I've been working on her, trying to get her back on her instrument, but she's like, no, I'm done with that. But let me tell you, she's a karaoke queen. She'll go into a karaoke spot and shut it down. You put on some Mary J. Blige, it's over with. Y'all might as well not even try after her no more. So she really loves her some karaoke. And one thing though, the fun fact about is our family, we have never played as a group. We talk about it, we joke about it, like we need to like really just like carry this act on the road, but we have never like played as a family. Like I played with my son or this son, or and I played with my wife in college and high school, but we have just never came together and was just a family ensemble. So that is, I guess that's just one of those future projects that we're trying to figure out how to put together.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's us. That's our musical family right there.
Yeah. So everybody's kind of doing their own thing, but there are some of you who have played together at various occasions. So you had that brass thing going as well with your youngest. So cool. So as I mentioned in the bio, you're just ending 7 years at the middle school level. And then you said you moved to Denver and then started teaching at the middle school. What did you do while you were teaching in Tennessee?
So I was a middle school teacher in Memphis. I taught 6 through 8. I'm competitive as a music teacher or band director now because the band scene was is very competitive in Memphis. And I was hired, and I tell people, I was like, I don't think I was hired because I had a bachelor's and a master's degree. I think I was hired because the principal saw Tennessee State University Aristocratic Band's marching band on my resume. He was like, that's who we want. Because I mean, middle school, high school, band culture is really big down there. So middle school, high school, they're going to want a marching band. If they can do it, they want a marching band. And so this principal had a vision. He's like, look, we got a good athletic program. We want a good marching band to go along with that. And so I was, thankful and grateful to be hired to be that person to set it in that direction. And so, yeah, very competitive. And I bring that competitive spirit everywhere I go. So I taught there, I think it was from 2009 to 2015. And then took that band from having barely 30 kids in the program. By the time I left, we about doubled in size. I was close to 60 kids when I left my last year. So it was tremendous growth. And, we went from being a band that no one knew about to one of, respected middle school bands in the district. And, with that, I became one of the most, one of the respected band directors in the district as well. So I was very thankful for that. After I left Memphis, I taught in Nashville for 2 years, and it was the same thing, middle school band. This time I taught 5th through 8th, and so that was a thing. And that's when I noticed at that time, I was like, I think at this point in my life, I may be too mean for anybody under the 6th grade because I was very militant. And so those 5th graders, those 5th graders gave me the blues. But I figured out how to, be able to, build relationships with them, and things got pretty good after a while. But that situation, it was a block schedule situation where on 2 days out the week I was teaching general music, then the other 2 days or 3 days out the week I was teaching band. So it kind of flip-flopped every week. And so I did that for 2 years, and then I ended up moving to Colorado. And the good thing about moving to Colorado is that my second year in Nashville, I was really kind of like burnt out, and I was really kind of like contemplating on really leaving the profession because I just wasn't enjoying it. Sick of this. You get just always a while. Try to take care of yourself. All you do going to, and I think working in Nashville, and that was the 2. I only worked there for 2 years, but that was the 2 roughest years of my career. And so I was at a point where it was like, I gotta make a decision. And my wife got a call from someone she knew. It was like, hey, they got a position to open in Denver, because that's when she started at KIP. And she was like, okay, I think I'm gonna take the job. And so we're, trying to figure out what's gonna happen, if I'm gonna stay in Nashville, if I'm gonna stay with the boys. And I was like, no, I'm going to. I was like, no, I'm getting out of here. It's time for a change. And by that time, my mom just passed away. So at that moment, I was just going through this transition in life, and it was just like, it's time for me to make some changes. It's time for some new scenery. It's time for some new experiences. It's time to just go, And so coming to work in APS just lit that spark, and it's been history ever since.
Yeah, and so you're coming off of now 7 years teaching at the 6 through 8 level, and now you're moving to a K through 8 school. So it's a school of the arts, a school that they are transitioned a couple of years ago into more of a magnet type school in the district. And like you said, the lowest you went before was grade 5. So what are some changes that you're thinking of making professionally or in your teaching style as you transition into this new role in the fall of 24?
So the first thing is I'm gonna always be reaching out to my elementary colleagues.
Yes.
That's the main thing. And so I have relationships with a few of them. So they already like, hey, don't worry. I got you. We're gonna support you. Don't even worry about it. So that's the main thing, and always just endless studying, trying to find different strategies. I've been all over Instagram, just looking at these different activities that these teachers are doing with their kids in the classroom, and just reading up on stuff and just trying to make sure I have a plan to go in there. And I think that is one of the things that will help me with my transition, is just to have a plan. I think if I don't have a plan going in there, then it's going to be a disaster. Those little munchkins are going to run me ragged. And so, I want to make sure that I don't end up in that situation like I ended up, like I was in my first year of teaching. So I never want to go back to that. But another thing that I know what I want to try to do is, set up a system where I can feed myself, because I'm teaching K through 8. So it seems like I am in a really unique situation where I don't have to wait for them to come from someone else's elementary school. I can build them right there, right up under me, and just, bring them on up through the ranks
Yeah.
and get them fundamentally sound and very prepared to be in high school, which will allow them to continue and, possibly get, scholarships, music scholarships to college, And I think that is one thing that has me excited about it. And I know that's the one thing that I'm going to really, really try to focus on. Being at Charles Burrell, I had the pleasure of going up there one day and just checking out the vibe. And it's a great vibe. Those students are there. It seemed like, they really want to learn music. And that's what we want at the end of the day. And the staff is so friendly and so warm up there. And so I know just being around them, that's going to keep motivated as well to be able to be successful up there. So yeah, that's what I've been thinking about since I've gotten the position.
And I've had a few elementary school music teachers on the podcast as well, so I can tell you where to find those episodes. And like you said, it's always just connecting with the community, both in the district and on Instagram, to get those tips. I think when you're moving to a different grade level, a lot of it is learning as you go, kind of seeing with the reactions of students, but also, like you said, one of the opportunities you're getting is to grow those students from a young age to love music and to, really get good at their craft. So yeah, exciting. I mentioned in the bio that you were the 2023 Teacher of the Year in Colorado. So I'm on the board of the Colorado Congress of Foreign Language Teachers, but this is a award that the Colorado Education Association gives. And what is the application process like? And what was it like when you were Teacher of the Year in terms of like events, speaking opportunities, those types of things?
So the application process is to be transparent, is tedious. It's tedious. And I had the pleasure of doing a little presentation on our last PD in the district. And I was telling them that it is very, very tedious. And the way that you really do the application process and do it well is by you have to schedule out time to do it. This is not an application where you can just go on there and you can just fill some stuff out real quick and you're done.
Yeah.
It's a lot of stuff. You have to answer, you have to do a lot of writing because you have to really answer these questions. It asks you these questions that make you really think. You have to really, really, really think back and really dig into your brain and try to figure out like strategies you use, like, because you really have to sell yourself. And then you have situations where you have to do a video recording answering the question. And, I had to do that. And then on top of that, I had to, of course, get letter of recommendations because, they need a letter of recommendation. I had to give 3 of them. And then I had to get a signature from my principal, from the superintendent. And so first about that is I almost quit. I almost didn't turn my application process in. I was about to be done with it because like I just said, I schedule every day to the T. I was like, okay, I got this section done today. Okay, next Saturday I'm gonna get this section. And I had it all planned out.
Yeah.
My thing is, I think if my advice I can give to anybody is before they start the application, see if you can go through every section of the application so you can see what you have to produce. That way give you an idea. I didn't read everything. I just started in section 1, did section 1, moved to section 2, did section 2, moved to section 3. And by the time I got to the last section was get a signature from your principal. Get a signature from the superintendent. Now here we are. It's late June. I'm like, where am I gonna get a signature? So I panicked. I panicked. I called my boy. I said, dude, I think I quit. I think I'm gonna quit because I was like, it's the summertime. I was like, where am I gonna get these signatures from? So I ended up texting my principal, Sharp. Ended up texting him, and so I was able to meet him because he was available.
Yeah.
But I didn't have no contact with Superintendent Munn at that point. So all I could do was just send an email, and I guess the secretary got it. So I was able to shoot up there and gave her my paper, and she was able to send it through to Rico, and he was able to give his signature and email it back to me. And that was the day before it was due. So
Wow.
while all that was going on, I was emailing CDE like, look, I got everything done. Can y'all please just give me some time to get these signatures, because I don't know. So they were like, oh, we're gonna help you out. Don't worry about it. Just turn everything you got in when you get the signatures, turn the signature in. But I got everything I need to get done. So I was able to turn it in the day it was due. But I almost quit. But thankfully my friend and my wife was like, no, get in the car and go up to HR and just see if somebody can do something for you. Because I was so about to just say, I'm done. That's it. So my advice is read through everything, so you know exactly what you have to do. And another piece of advice is hit the sections that that's not going to be as tedious.
Yeah.
That you can get done real quick and effectively. And then, leave the other time for those questions you really have to get done. But it's a tedious process, but it was worth it. It was worth it. And I know it's a lot of great teachers out here that probably could have been recognized for this, but it's, the application process would just wear you out mentally. You just look at it, after you have, they do the application process in like April and May. So, we're at the end of the school year. So our brains is like mush at that time. So it's like, I don't feel like doing nothing. So I get it, but, I would still encourage people to go out for it because it's worth it. It's worth it. So yeah, so that's the application process. Now, the stuff I got to do as teacher of the year was very, it was life changing. All right. So, I got to meet the president, right? I got to meet all my other cohorts from all over the nation. So, got to meet them and make 53 new friends, because we got them in Guam and over in Okinawa. So it was great to see these people and to be able to be in a group of people that's going through what you're going through, and that was always comforting, as we navigate. We were just each other's support system. I was recognized at the Capitol by sitting around the fields. So that was really cool. Had an article out or a news clipping out, and I was all over the TV that morning, so I was popular that morning. Like I said, I was presented the Education Champion Award. Recognized by the Drums Along the Rockies. I was recognized during the Teachers Appreciation at the Colorado Rockies game, so they had a camera on me, so I was on the big old Titantron, big old Jumbotron, and that was really cool. I was recognized on the Read podcast. I've had opportunities to do other like interviews, like Two Dope Teachers and the Mic podcast. I was able to Band Director Boot Camp podcast. I was able to do a Puzzle Huddle interview on YouTube with a old high school friend of mine. I was able to do radio interview on the Drop. I was able to do radio interview on Colorado Public Radio. Was able to do Learning Talk podcast that just dropped earlier this month. I was able to was just highlighted on Trip Nation. So that dropped. They came and interviewed me last summer, but the docu-series dropped on May 1st of this year. So I was able to, participate in that, and a bunch of people sitting down doing interviews with you to put, for articles and stuff. I was able to do keynote speeches, and the keynote speeches were very interesting because that was my first time ever. I did about 5 of them.
Okay.
And so that was my first time ever getting in front of somebody and telling my story or, being an inspiration and speaking. And that was very interesting because I've never got a chance to really tell my story as to where I started to where I am at that moment, or, just being open and being vulnerable to people that I didn't know and inspiring them. And, you know, it was funny because I was asking my wife, I said, every time I have these, I get choked up, like to the point where I'm about to shed tears because I guess it just have me just reflecting. And, you know, we don't really get a chance to reflect a lot because grind. We go one stage to the next stage to the next stage. And we never just stop and turn around and look at where we started to, you know, where we are at that moment. Never do that. I've been in the grind since I put that horn in my hand in 5th grade. Jimmy has been on this band grind for forever.
Yeah.
And I guess during these keynote speeches, that made me relive some moments, that made me reflect on some moments, you know, that really took me back, you know, and that really just touched me because it was like, my God, I have come through a lot and I have done so much. And so that I can appreciate what those keynote speeches done for me. But on top of that, I've been able to do panel discussions. I've been able to do breakout sessions at conferences and stuff. So, you know, I have really been looked at as a specialist, and it's cool because it's like, you know, I finally get to share with the masses what I've learned and the things that I can do, and you know what I've come up through. So I think that was the most powerful part about Teacher of the Year was just, you know, I got to go to space camp and all that stuff too. But I think the biggest part of being Teacher of the Year was I was able to show that this is why I'm Teacher of the Year. And then I was able to really inspire people by sharing a story about what I've done. So those are my cool moments as Teacher of the Year. And as you can see, like I said, it don't stop. Like Teacher of the Year don't stop because here we are having the interview, you know, and I'm about to get recognized on Friday, and I just had an interview drop earlier, 2 interviews drop. So the train don't stop. It might slow down a little bit, but the party keeps going, and I'm for it. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. So yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, the recognitions are still coming through. So I told somebody was like, well, because I just got recognized Black News, you know, as being the first Black teacher in the state of Colorado to receive the award. And, you know, everybody was saying the congratulations and stuff on social media and stuff. And it got a lot of traction. And somebody was like, well, didn't you win last year? And so I responded, I said, yeah, I won last year. But I said, but the thing, stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been a ride. I hope it is because it puts me in situations that I don't know if I would have been able to participate in or which
Yeah, and it's so exciting to like just hear what you've been able to accomplish, what you've been able to experience over the past year, not only these events, the podcasts, the live streams.
Yeah, so it sounds like the Teacher of the Year experience is not only just the opportunity to get out there, travel, speak at different events, but like you were recognized, you got to meet these other colleagues, the other Teachers of the Year. Although the application process was tedious, you know, really, like you said, at this point, you know, even though you were rewarded the Teacher of the Year a year ago, you still are reaping the benefits, and this will continue. So, you know, it's really cool to hear the perspective of somebody who's experienced this, and you know what happens after the fact. So go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just saying. It's life changing. It's life changing, and they tell you that your life will never be the same, and that is not a lie at all. Your life will be the same after going through this experience. Yeah.
Well, we've had a great conversation today around your experience, mostly teaching middle school up until this point, and then how you envision your transition now to K-8. Your experience also as a dad and a husband in a musical family, and also some of the recognitions that you've had along the years. Out of everything we've talked about, what's one thing you'd like listeners to remember?
That I'm passionate about what I do. I take it very seriously, and maybe sometimes too seriously, but I have been dedicating my life to music education for 15 years. And, I just really, really, really just take seriously of how I affect my students.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just really take it seriously, and I don't really just half step. I tell people all the time, like, I don't do this for fun. Like, I'm very serious about this. And when it comes to education, the name Day has to be synonymous with greatness.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I really just do not just be like, whatever. No, I'm all in. So yeah, so anybody that's listening, just know that Mr. Day is very passionate about what he does.
Well, where can people connect with you and find you online?
So they can find me at the Maestro on Facebook. On Twitter, I'm at Jimmy L Day, and on IG, I'm at Jimmy Day II. So that's where you can find me.
And you also have a website?
Oh yes, I do have a website. It's the milkshake website, and I didn't even write that down.
Yeah, I have the URL, so I'll include that in the show notes for listeners.
Yeah. So yeah, my milkshake website is just basically dedicated to the time I was teacher of the year, and so the activities. So I have pictures there. I have my YouTube channel linked on there. So if you want to see how Mr. Day was doing as a band director in his middle school, the evidence is right there. So I tell my students when I show them that YouTube video, I say, look, a lot of people get up here and tell you what they did, how they did it. I'm just gonna show you.
Mm-hmm.
I like to my YouTube channel is linked to that, and it basically has my whole career as a band director on YouTube, so they can catch that on there. And like I said, pictures and articles and interviews and all that stuff. And then once you send me this link will be on Milkshake as well.
Great, great. Well, thank you so much for being my guest on the Out of the Trenches podcast today. It was really cool to talk with you outside of the school and learn more about your passion for music education and your experience as Teacher of the Year.
Well, thank you for having me, Don. It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.